normal people become terrified of criminals.
Shots were just fired. Police just came out and told us, and we're headed there right now.
They become terrified of their own government.
Officer-involved shooting in Martinsburg results in suspect taking his own life. This is YouTuber Hunter Avallone. He's been a guest on this show. He's a political commentator. He was with his girlfriend. Her ex showed up, attempting to, it would appear, to kill Hunter Avallone, and ended up shooting his ex. And then when police arrived on scene, and this was the West Virginia State Police. This is, I believe, the Martinsburg City Police, as well as, I think I'm hearing rumors even Harper's Ferry may have responded, maybe after the fact. There's Hunter posted the video. You can't see anything. You can hear the gunshots. I don't know exactly what happened. The guy apparently had a shotgun, and yeah. So I'll show you this tweet. This is from Hunter. I want to say this. I mean, you know, you got to be a bit in the weeds to know Hunter Avallone. He's a political commentator, but you know, it's not. I'm not trying to be a dick or anything. He's not the biggest political commentator, but he has been on this show before, and we had no idea he lived like 2 buildings down from us, from our Martinsburg building, where this is where we're building the coffee shop. It's where we're building the skate shop. So this is local news to us. And he tweeted this. I'm still trying to process this, and I'm most likely in shock as I write this, but only a few hours ago, Holly's ex-boyfriend Conrad showed up at my apartment building with a shotgun. He shot through my building door, injuring Holly's leg in the process. I recorded the final moments in which we were hiding on the back porch. You can hear him shoot at police before ultimately taking his own life in my own effing apartment hallway. I'm still trying to process this. Holly and I are physically okay, but mentally this is going to do some serious damage. Holly's been amazing, and she's been incredibly brave and strong throughout this ordeal. He posted this. He said this was Conrad's final text message with Holly after she'd been injured. She said, "Please surrender. I'm losing a lot of blood." The shooter responds, "I never meant that. No. God damn it. Leave him, please." She said, "Only if you surrender." And he said, "I will. Just live your life for yourself." And then he says, "I should have killed the coward." So when firing through that door, it appears this guy went to Hunter's house to kill him. And there's more to this. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why I just, you know what, man. First and foremost, I'll just say it this way. The reports from the police are that they went to the hospital. It's superficial injuries. It looks like Hunter's girlfriend's going to be okay. So I'm glad to hear that. I sent him a message, you know, but he should take care of himself, whatever. He's a couple buildings down from us, but this is crazy. And, you know, for me, why I think this is so important. I mean, it's important you guys take security seriously. It's important you guys understand the right to keep and bear arms.
That's right.
Hunter should not have been. He should not have been hiding on his back porch. I mean, maybe he should have. I don't know. He's in West Virginia. I just got to say, man, he should have a weapon. I don't know what else to say. I don't know.
I mean, I think that we live in a time that we have to understand that not only is there a massive amount of mental illness that's, you know, kind of going around, but we also have to acknowledge that there's really been this kind of devaluation on human life. I mean, you're starting to see this calloused approach toward taking, you know, human lives mean absolutely nothing. And so I think that we live in a day and age, and unfortunately that we should, and I would encourage people to be able to defend their own homes, to understand stand your ground and understand your castle law, to understand, you know, the ability to try and protect your family, which is ultimately our inalienable right under our Second Amendment, right? So,
and this is why you know, every argument made by every anti-gun, anti-2A person is going to be like, that man should not have had a gun. Oh, good luck, man. That's such a ridiculous argument. Crazy guy is going to find a weapon. You can 3D print them, right? So I'm not here to cast anything on Hunter. I'm not saying he did anything wrong. I'm just saying, you know, I hope in the future he looks to his personal defense for his home. He's in a constitutional carry state. He can do it, and he should. But I am glad the police were there and were able to assist him.
I always give the most kudos ever to our first responders, who are just amazing people. I mean, these are the individuals that run towards fire when everyone's running around, you know, running away. These are the people that run towards gunfire when other people are running away. I mean, just the bravery of our men and women in uniform. I just don't think it can be understated, and how much we should appreciate what they do.
Dude, you mentioned the devaluation of human life. That's kind of been a trend. And I was just talking to Dr. Drew earlier on my show and interviewed him. It was great talk. We talked about narcissism. It came up. And like, I was like, what does that mean? That means I love myself? Because like, so he's like, no. It means like when you're a kid, and it becomes like your bonding mechanisms become a threat. So you go inward and you like kind of soothe yourself by ignoring others, and then you start to lose. He explained it way better. He wrote a book on it. But like, I don't know if it's the age, if it's the internet, all the video games people are diving into, is because if it's being kids set in front of a YouTube for 3 hours when the mom's in the kitchen just doing whatever. If it's the drugs, like the pharmaceuticals, that kids are like moms on amphetamines that are giving birth to kids that have like hard time with their gut biomes. It's all of it. And
I think it's all of it. I think it's a culmination of like so many things, not to mention the fact that you have 22, 23-year-olds who've never knew America without being at a time of war. I mean,
yeah, what's that about, man? The war weariness. What is that? Like, a kid is told like this is normal, this is what we are, and it's like, but that's horrible to be. I mean, in my opinion, conquest and colonization of Iraq, attempted Afghanistan, Syria, Libya, like, it's disgusting. It's just for oil, as far as I can tell, or for resources. But like, to be told like this is how it is. Hell, welcome to the greatest country on earth. We're conquesting all these other countries.
Well, but the problem is like we were talking about before the show started. I mean, you've got this kind of neoconservative, neoliberal, like liberal kind of interventionist mindset where they think that all of our, warfare is still based in a kinetic realm of gun to gun, bomb to bomb, bullet to bullet. And they completely ignore the fact that the evolution of warfare is now into the non-kinetic kind of information warfare, propaganda warfare, economic resource supply chain and cyber. I mean, these are the areas that we need to be focusing on. And I'm not an interventionist, but I'm not isolationist, right? We need to be protectionists and understand, though, that there's certain things that have nothing to do with us. I would look at Ukraine as one of the biggest models of that. And so for me, the reasons why we went into Iraq, which lost, almost 1 million plus innocent lives. No one, I've spent 7 years of my life in Iraq. I spent almost 3 years of my life in Afghanistan, Kosovo, Pakistan, North Somalia, all these areas. One of the things that I've learned is that any government at the end of war can try and claim a victory, but no one wins when it comes to war. You're always going to have certain amounts of collateral damage. You're always going to have certain people who are going to lose their life who shouldn't. You're always going to make sure that you're going to lose someone's brothers and uncles and fathers and husbands and things like this in these wars. And so we need to stop treating lives as if we're pawns on a chessboard somewhere that we can just basically move to play political football. We have to be smart in how we not only protect our American people, but we protect our treasures and we protect our ability to be able to be strong again. We have to get America First agenda back on the block, and we have to stop this interventionist mindset of the 1980s.
I watched, I think it was Clint Russell retweeted, this is from a few days ago, some graphic of like veterans suicide, how the deaths of active military, and it's like suicide is like 15, 18% in 1980, and then it goes up and over the years, and now it's at like 45% of active. What the fuck does that work? What in the hell? And that's just people that are actually there in the military getting the brunt.
I also contribute that to a little bit of the wokeness that's basically continue to try and utilize this indoctrinating kind of process where in our military, it's one of the things that we strive so hard for, myself, Matt Gates, Jim Banks, Ronnie Jackson, I mean, so many of the members of our Armed Services Committee, and especially the MilPER subcommittee, was to get away from this idea that meritocracy no longer can exist and it's all about the diversity, equity, and inclusion, the DEI. What we really need to be focusing on for our military, which is what it used to be focused on, is things like increased lethality, readiness, and being properly equipped. Those are the three things I want to see out of my military. And I think that what we're bringing in now is drag shows and, transsexual, gender affirming surgeries and travel abortion that's being paid for by the federal government, things like this that in no way, I mean, what we should be thinking about is how do we improve the quality of life? How do we get military construction, MilCon in place that allows the housing availability and affordability to be better for our armed forces? How can we actually make sure that instead of just having 2 days a week for childcare for the spouses of those who serve, we have it all day, every day, so they can have careers of their own? It's like we should be thinking about improving the quality of life of our armed service members, but also let's start prioritizing our veterans over illegal aliens who are basically invading our nation. I mean,
think we
these are
don't
priorities.
because American culture has shifted into being sort of anti-military? I think that there's sort of a disconnect between the way people used to feel.
I mean, this administration has almost become anti-American.
Oh, they're 100% anti-American.
It's not even American anti-military.
Day-to-day American personality. I mean, you see this reflected in military recruitment. People don't want to join the military.
We've got 33,000 recruitment deficit right now. I mean, you're talking 3 military divisions.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, one of the amendments that I tried to pass, that I tried to put in that CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, tried to say scored, which is nonsense. I wanted us to basically look at the fact that these vaccination purging is unconstitutional and that we should bring back our military service members. We should give them the back pay that's necessary. They shouldn't have to pay any bonuses back because at the end of the day, they were to serve our government, or I should say serve our nation, not to serve our government's agenda. And so, and meanwhile, they were like, no, sorry, this scores. So you can't put it in as an amendment. It's just ridiculous what we're seeing right now. I guess I have to agree to some extent. It is an anti-military, but anti-American agenda.
Do you think there's a way to
facing.
shift culture away from that? I mean, there's always going to be politicians who are sort of anti-military or who see, more conservative takes on the military and conservative values as a threat. But do the day-to-day Americans ultimately want to say, oh, you're a returning vet, I don't care about you? Because that's really what a lot of communities
you said
convey
the
to
exact
them.
thing in the earlier part of your statement, which is politicians. They're actually the biggest part of the problem. We don't need politicians. We need statesmen.
Mm-hmm.
We need veterans who've actually served in uniform who understand exactly what our warfighters need to be able to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
We have to have the necessary resources and assets not being pre-allocated to another country to where they can actually worry about the PTSD and the trauma that the other nation's going through and ignoring our own veterans here at home. We have to just get back to statesmen who understand what the America First approach is and start prioritizing the American citizens.
We had Tom Sauer on a couple of days ago, and he's like privatized. He's taking it into his own hands. They have a private company. It's Miramar Health, and they're wholly focused on helping veterans rehabilitate themselves through whatever kind of therapy, whether it's I think they're looking into psychedelic therapy as well, like MDMA therapy. But it's a lot of it's about communication and I don't think the government can handle it. I think it needs to be in the private sector, like the VA. I don't know a lot about it, but all I hear complaints for 20 years. People have been complaining about how ineffective it is. So I don't know if you.
It is ineffective, and I'll even go a step further. The problem with all of government is that the metric of success is completely skewed. Their idea by gauging what is a metric of success is the idea of how much should I spend. And they continue to try and say, oh, well, we spent more this year than we'd ever spent before. Oh, we increased veterans by 20%. Oh, we did this. What they're not doing is gauging it by the true metric of how many people did you actually help? What is the outcome in which we're looking at where we're able to say we went from 21 or 22 veteran suicides a day down to 18? What was that cost in order to do that? Because let me tell you, if I could get it down to 0, give me that number. But you also have them where they'll go ahead and say, oh, we just built another VA hospital. Well, yeah, you just spent $1 billion on this new VA hospital in a metropolitan area that already has 9 other hospitals which have the same exact levels of care. Why wouldn't you put that to a rural area where people can actually get treatment and open it up to where all of our veterans can basically utilize the existing, medical treatments and facilities that are actually existing there already? I mean, this is the thing. Veterans don't necessarily need to have like a special hospital. There's hospitals who offer a lot of these same things, but we do need them in the rural communities. We do need to understand how do we treat and how do we give the necessary resources and assets. I mean, the military veteran as a whole is very traditional. We believe in things like being able to, as a man, for example, the idea to be able to protect my family, to be able to provide for my family. And so when we come out and we essentially have no way to supply and, keep up with the 40-year high inflation and the cost of living that's out of control and untenable, or we don't have the housing affordability and availability for a soldier any longer. And so they don't feel like a man because they can't protect and provide for their family. So that loses their objective, their mission, their focus. And I think that then they start chasing, well, something must be wrong. I'm getting into a depressed state. And here's the other problem that we have to acknowledge. The pharmaceutical companies have continued, just with the doctors, to want to overprescribe and overmedicate every single person, thinking that that's the solution.
Well, they
and it's
benefit
not.
when you're sick, and they can prescribe you something for all the side effects that they have caused.
But they want to keep you sick for as long as possible because that's how they actually make
they
their money.
benefit when you're sick.
Is that how it is in the VA too?
It's exactly how it is. Oh, you have an issue? Here's a script. Oh, that pain's still bothering you, and the last pain pills that we didn't give you is enough. Let me increase the dosage. And I'm not saying that we don't have great medical care providers, but what we do have is we've got a conflict of interest when you have people who actually are able to, it's the same thing with, legislators who are able to trade in the stock market, even though they can make legislation that manipulates the stock price. You have doctors who, of course, are going to invest in the pharmaceutical companies of the, things that they prescribe the most, right? Because they understand. So there's just a lot that we have to fix in this country. But the first thing is we have to get back to understanding what does it mean to be on an America First agenda again.
Mm-hmm. Would you recommend joining the military to like an 18-year-old today?
I would. I mean, look, at the end of the day, we've got one of the strongest, greatest volunteer forces. I was proud to have served in uniform, and I think it's a great honor. I think it's something that if you're born with that servant leadership heart, and a lot of us, we used to joke that we must be wired wrong, right? But the reality is that you're just born with a servant leadership heart. You are or you're not. And the thing that why I ran, one of the big things was not just to look out for our military veterans, but to ensure that our military has all the national, the resources, the assets, and that they get back to the priorities that they should be focused on, so that men and women can actually serve, not thinking about this woke agenda or this DEI over meritocracy type of thing for, equity over equality. I mean, it's just this idea of us building back our military on the principles and the beliefs of what it originally started from.
I want to introduce a super soldier program where you can be like, yo, you want to do experimental gene therapy and be able to run 3 times faster, not have to breathe every 8 minutes. You want to see 90 times further.
I feel like you're volunteering for it.
That's what I'm talking about, dude. I will be the first. And but I think so many young people maybe don't have a purpose, and like the idea that you could become a badass, and it's all on you though, because it may or may not work. It may work, but like you can sign up for this. I think it would increase.
Or we could have the X-Men, I guess, at some point.
That's what I'm talking about. It's because it's happening anyway, man. In China, they're doing CRISPR. They are building super soldiers. So why don't we just do it publicly? We don't have to disclose all the results.
I honestly just wish that we could even get back to the idea of not having drag shows on our military installations. So you're light years ahead on that already.
You mentioned.
I was going to say, I feel like because recruitment standards are or like we're not meeting recruitment goals right now, they're more likely to want to lower all of the physical standards rather than start recruiting for potential super soldiers.
Well, I mean, look.
Although maybe you can make a super soldier out of anybody. I don't really know how it works.
I always say that one of the things that plagues this nation is that we have a crisis in leadership. And, the issues that we're seeing right now, yes, it does start at the commander-in-chief, but it also, I look at the Secretary of Defense, who I've actually issued impeachment articles against and filed those because of his, handling on dereliction of duty, if you want to, on how Afghanistan went and the botched withdrawal. It cost 13 brave heroes their lives. And I'm blessed that I'll be with Paula Knaus, who is the mother of Ryan Knaus, one of the 13 brave soldiers who had died on August 26th. I'll be with her December 13th, where we'll be going out in Section 60 in Arlington to be able to go ahead and visit her son and pay our respects. But, there has to be accountability again in government. That's really what it matters.
Lloyd Austin, Secretary of Defense.
Austin.
And did he oversee the surrender?
He oversaw a majority of it.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.